Well, putting it together in the sense that I've been building the site, not necessarily putting a presentation together, but we'll see how we go with that. I've cobbled one together this afternoon. Am I sharing screen, Patrick? No.
You will, but Stuart's probably going to press a button.
I've made you co-host, Nathan, so you should be able to.
Cool. Hang on. And I'll do that. Okay, so this is a website that I'm building for Mental Health Australia. It's still a work in progress, so not completely finished. It's essentially an online digital library of online resources, so articles, research all around mental health, and in particular lived experience sort of leadership field. I won't go into too much detail about all of that. It's a pretty content-heavy website, which is where Jfilters sort of came into the equation. For example, if you're just going to browse the library, you'll see there's a truckload of content, a lot of it with similar category names or subcategory names. And if I go to the top level page, it just has the subcategories that are within it and the articles. And I'll go one. So this would be one of the content pages, or just a browsable content page. There's a number of custom fields going on here in addition to your standard Joomla article. The interesting thing about this site is that we're not actually using the article page. So if I hover over the title here, and if you look down at the bottom of the browser, you should see that the URL is to an external site, as is the link here. So they all basically link off to external sites. So we're not using the Joomla article page at all. But it's a number of custom fields. So we've got author, the year of publication, the title has to be repeated again. Part of this is because of the sort of standards that the library is using, if you like. The source of the resource, some of them have a reference, not all of them. Down here, for example, we have the resource source, and we have a reference after it, and then the external link. There's also a custom field which defines whether it's full text, meaning it's free, or whether it requires membership, subscription, or payment. And then there's the actual text of the article. Now, I mentioned before that we're not actually using the Joomla article page. So the read more actually just accesses another custom field. I'll explain why later, but it's just easier to do that way because it's hard to actually use the full text without the intro text in Joomla. Anyway, so that's the layout of the library itself. The big sort of key part of this project was it being able to be searchable.
Come on.
Sorry. You're right. It being able to be searchable, fieldable by the custom fields. So they wanted people to be able to search by author, by the year of publication, all those kind of things. So part of the project has been using Smart Search in Joomla 4, which is kind of the default search situation. So if I do so we get all the results that Smart Search is going to find. We'll read more links work. So this, again, this has all been done with a template override in the search results page, which we'll show you shortly. But it also uses the Jfilters component, which is kind of over here. Should have brought this up already, but so if you've not heard of the component before, we probably have, that's why here. It filters from custom fields, categories, and tags. It's a Joomla 4 component. You can go and have a look at the blue-coder.com website to find out all about it. I'm not going to do a complete demonstration of everything that Jfilters does because it has lots of different uses. I'm kind of doing a demonstration of how I've used it in this particular website. But you'll kind of get the idea of some of the things you can do with it, hopefully by looking at it. So one thing you can do a lot with it is have a contextual filtering based on the category of content that you're in. So because I've searched on peer support, the library filters over here have basically contracted to the categories that have those articles in them. So I can then filter further on the peer support search by just going to discussion and analysis, if that's the thing that I'm looking for. Remembering this site is going to be used by researchers, people writing policy, doing submissions to government, that kind of thing. They can also filter by author, search, to filter it down, or to quick search on what you're after. All of the custom fields become or have the option of being searchable. This is something you can turn on or off. But by doing so, it just automatically uses Ajax to filter down to the results that you're after. It has a few different layouts, the filters. We have the category layout, which is like a category tree. Standard list view. Resource author we've done as a drop down because on the larger view, there's a lot of them. So it just takes up a lot of space otherwise. And there's also a tags layout. So in your standard kind of tags display. One of the interesting things I found about Jfilters is that and a little bit confusing to be honest, is that it has a separate search results page to the default smart search page. Yet it uses the smart search template to display the results, but it includes them into a different template. So you might notice that on the standard search, the URL up here is search-library. But if I activate the search by any of the filters, the URL will change to library search. It will then add the category URL onto the end of it and the subcategory URL as well. I found this quite confusing and have given the developer some feedback around this because I noticed on his support tickets that the vast majority of queries were about this. I'm not sure there's actually a solution, mainly because the smart search engine needs to display its results on the smart search page, but it doesn't have the functionality of Jfilters. So essentially what I ended up doing was doing template overrides for both pages to basically make them look identical. The other tricky part is that Jfilters by default doesn't let you display the search box at the top, which I wanted on the main search page. Anyway, I managed to get there with a bit of modules anywhere and loading the search module into the template override, but we'll get to that in a minute. So that's kind of the functionality of Jfilters, what it does. You can then, load any other category. It's super fast in terms of, actually loading the results. You can actually, this isn't even using Ajax, but you can use Ajax to load them, which is somewhat quicker. I didn't actually see the need for it, and I was having a couple of JS conflicts, so I decided to turn that off. Okay, so now that I showed the front, I might have a bit of a look at the admin side of it. So the first thing you need to do is set up your custom fields. So we are on custom fields. You'll see I've got a number of different custom fields, the author, year of publication. Some of them are conditional custom fields and that they're just used in the template override for logic, if you like. So this one, for example, has publishing details. I mentioned before, some of them have a reference, some of them don't. So basically that caused a situation in the layout where sometimes I wanted to load a full stop and other times I wanted to load a comma. Because if it had a reference as well as the publication source, it needed the comma, otherwise it was full stop. Got a lot of pedantic academic types. The most important field is probably actually the URL field, just in that that's the one that is overriding the default article link. But there's nothing particular about the setup of the fields themselves. It's just pretty much all standard options. Remembering. So yeah, the second part of the Jfilters process is it's a component, and you need to synchronize your custom fields with the component. Now you'll see when we go here that these aren't all here, because a lot of these were added as I was doing the templating and kind of going, okay, well, I need to have them ask a question about, actually, before we go to Jfilters, I will just show the edit screen for the content. So if we go to articles, yep, that one looks good. Let's do that. So you'll see that we got extra content. Yep. So the article text is the first bit of text that appears on the listing. So for example, here, there's no images going on here. It's a pretty dull site in that regard. As I said, very academic. We go to resource details though, and that's where all the fun stuff is. So basically we've got a drop down the type as to what type of resource type it is. The sole purpose of this field is to display an icon. So basically it displays a font awesome icon depending on whether it's an article. We've got no videos in here. There's a couple here. Yeah, so here we have video icon if it's a video URL. And this one is a whole website, so it has a URL icon that we decided was appropriate. A bit hard to actually come up with a website icon these days. So that's the point of that drop-down field. They then list the resource author or authors. Fortunately, with Jfilters, you might have noticed that you can filter on part words. So if I was just looking for R. Harrison, he would come up, or they, sorry, it could be she, would come up in a search with all these authors, regardless of it not being the only author. We then got publication year that has publishing details, which was about the full stop and the comma. The publication source, the reference, the resource URL itself, whether it's free or full text. And then there are different kind of headings displayed above each article, depending on what kind of content it is. And then we have the additional content section, which is displayed after, there's no read more here, of course. Displayed after the read more. Okay. Over there. Okay, so yeah, to make it all filterable, you have to install the Jfilters component. I'm not going to go through install, as I said, it's just a working in progress site. Yeah, you'll see that we don't have all the fields in here, because basically I have the fields that I need to search on. When you first load Jfilters, it comes up with a message saying that you need to import your fields. So there's an import button at the top, you hit import, and then they come in like this. You can then synchronize, which I can do because I'm not going to use them. But you'll see it's now brought in some other fields. The other fields that were in custom field section that weren't being used here at this stage. I don't know why they're all marked as checkout, but that's okay. The category filter in Jfilters is probably the most important one. And without going into all its many use cases in detail, you can create a separate filter module that just looks at a particular category. So any particular category on your site. So you might have a section on great fishing locations, and you could have a filter based on the towns in those great fishing locations, and that just might be one category. So it's a question of setting what the root category is. So here, the root category is digital library, so it's not including information or builder pages. You have a bunch of options around the fields themselves as to how they're going to display. So we've got links, checkboxes, the drop-down list, radio buttons I haven't used because I have too many options in my custom fields. But yeah, there's a fair few different options for display. Toggle state, I've set to collapse because I've got a lot of data. That's basically about because I've been using it to remember the state, but it's basically whether these options are open or closed. So setting it to collapsed means this is how it's stated, opens, otherwise it's expanded. There's a show clear option so that when you do a filter, you can then clear it to reset the filters back to where you were. So that's whether that shows. I basically went with all these defaults and also list search, which was the option to search through the list dynamically that I was showing earlier. Some other options around whether the parent nodes are links. I didn't necessarily want that because there's no content there, so I set it to no. And whether you want to show subnode contents on parent node selection, but again, I wasn't showing that, so that didn't make sense. There are also some details about SEO, which I'll be honest, I haven't looked at deeply yet and have left to the defaults. Okay, I'll just check them all in. Okay, so the last fun part of this was doing the search results template so that all of these custom fields display in the particular format and order that they're meant to on the browse pages or according to the academic guidelines. So I'll have a quick look at that. I was also going to say, I will pop into the chat if anybody wants to have a play with this. Sorry, I meant to do it at the start. URL to the actual site if you'd like to have a play with the filters. Apologies, I meant to put that earlier. I'm just going to put this here now because this is basically where I learned how to do the search. To do the template override itself. Patrick's probably familiar with this article. Did you write it even, Patrick?
No, I tested it, I think so.
Yeah. Yeah, so this is basically the core part at the top. This is all getting a bit codey, so I won't go into too much detail, but I just copied and pasted this from that article that I've posted into the chat. What that basically allows you to do is to access the custom fields by their ID number. So you'll see here we've got my custom field. It's by ID 15 value. So that equates to the ID number of the custom field in the content area. So field 15 is resource type. Now you'll notice here that I've kind of named all of my fields. You don't have to. I personally just find it easier to code if I have defined variables. So I kind of create a resource URL that I then assign the URL field to. So on with resource type, icon. You'll see with resource icon, I kind of actually had to do it because that's where I'm defining which font awesome class to load. Depending on which kind of resource type it is. So if it's an article, it loads this one. it's audio, it'll load the audio icon and so on. All the others were pretty much straight replacements. Yeah, so then down into the actual template. One thing I should mention, although I can't imagine when you use it too often, but with ComFinder, you can actually have different result templates for different types of content. So you might notice that mine is default underscore article. I believe you can do a different one for default underscore tag. You can also do it for custom content types that you might create through the articles manager. Yeah, so that's why this one's default underscore article. I've pretty much just gutted the entire layout and replaced it with my article layout. I'm using a U-theme template, so there's lots of UI kit classes floating around. But yeah, so, you know, up here, I'm loading the resource icon first, if it exists, which it should. This is the part where I replace the Joomla article URL with the custom URL. Yeah, and then just all the rest of the fields load. There's a little bit of nice little UI kit code out of the box. It makes it quite easy to do the read more, read less thing. So it's just loading the custom field, and there's a couple of buttons that hide and show depending on what's being clicked on. I mentioned earlier that there is a separate template for the Jfilter results. So when you click on one of its links, it loads a different page. It does, as I said, it loads the search results template. So whatever I've done over here automatically gets carried across over to the Jfilter results template. This was the extra bit where I had to add in using modules anywhere, a library search module to put the module at the top of the page. And I've given the developer some feedback to suggest perhaps you could add that as an option in the component, but just have it display at the top of the page so that the two pages look identical. Basically. And one last thing I'll mention on that is we also did discover a little bit of a bug. The use Ajax option doesn't actually work if you have the Smart Search module loaded on the page anyway. So that's something else he's working on as a fix. Yeah, I think that's about it. Does anyone have any questions? Oh, no questions. Love that.
I've got a question, Nathan. How many custom fields values do you have in your table?
How many custom field values?
Yeah, so how many rows are in your custom field values table?
That's a good question. Is it super bloated? Is it massive?
Quite probably. I haven't actually had a look. I can if you like. I'm going to guess that it's going to be quite large.
Got all those attributes.
There's a lot of content. There's a lot of authors. The author list in particular is, and she's not finished putting all of the content in. Are you talking about performance-wise?
Yeah, it just seems to perform quite well. I was just interested to see whether you've got 10,000, 20,000, 40,000, 100,000.
I can have a look. Let's do that.
Just announce your password and we'll have a look ourselves.
Yeah, sure, no worries. Yeah, you're funny, mate. So which table?
Field values,
Fields values.
fields values table.
2 doesn't seem right.
Down further.
No, he's in it. Fields values.
I am.
That's the one.
2 rows, that's not right.
That is not right. Oh, you got it somewhere else. Where would it be stored if not? That's the right place. Have you got different prefix? Have you got multiple prefixes?
Just no, I shouldn't have.
Right database?
Oh, hello, I do. What the hell?
That's good. You're really going to screw up the hackers. They won't know where to look. It's a shell game.
Yep, all right, hang on. Let me try and remember, why was that? Oh, I know why that is. I won't explain it, but anyway. Yeah, 2034 at this stage.
Oh, that's not bad at all. That's quite light. Well, but it's heavy, isn't it? Because yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's I mean, there's this category, for example, is complete. I think this one might be, these ones not. So yeah, there's a bit more to go, but there's probably, like, in terms of resources to be added in future, there will be, but it'll be incremental. It won't be like, you know, an extra 100 or 1,000 at a time. So it's like,
Is that table holding big blocks of text, the actual article text, or is it not holding that data?
I would be holding the additional content field, yeah, but it's at most a couple of paragraphs, I guess.
Oh, okay. Well, that's why it's so fast then, isn't it? Yeah, it's not bogged down at all.
No, well, that's like, as I said, it's quicker with Ajax, but we had this issue and I kind of turned it off and I was like, yeah, you know, it's still pretty quick without it. Not super fast. You know, he's working on fixing that, but yeah, so it seems to be performance wise. I mean, that's largely, you know, also just Joomla and the custom fields, I guess, to some extent.
Yeah. Cool. No, that's good. I'm going to give it a whirl on a large data and I'll let you know how it goes.
Cool. Well, this is just hosted, yeah, it's at Synergy, but it's not on anything spectacular. Like, yeah, not sure how much RAM it's got actually. I don't know, maybe 2 GB. Not sure. Yeah, 2 GB RAM. So it's not exactly, you know, just a dev site. So yeah, it's not using heaps of processors or anything. So I'm sure you could, you know, dump up your resources and run a pretty large site with it. Cool. Anything else?
What PHP version are you on?
8 point. Where is it these days? Over here. 8.0.27.
Good.
I think there's something I'm running that didn't quite like 8.1. I can't remember. I think it might be fixed now, actually. I just haven't had a chance to update it and test it. So. Yeah, I found it really snappy and fast. I've kind of found Joomla 4 pretty fast overall, to be honest. But, yeah, pretty pleased with how it's turned out, actually, and the client is thrilled to bits. So they give me a few other sites as a reference point, and it kind of, you know, craps all over them in terms of the search functionality.
Yeah, my table's got 652,000 rows.
Yeah, right. You might need a bit more RAM and processing.
So I'll let you know how it goes with larger data.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I might.
But it looks like it performs quite well. Just having.
Yeah.
How do your search results look on mobile when you've got all that content, or when you've got your navigation drop down where it's got 40 or 50?
And my navigation drop down is a separate one for mobile, Mick, and doesn't have 40 or 50 options. But, so we've basically got the top level library pages, we've got a search, tidy up on the layout to do there. Link to the search library and the feedback and suggestions. But if I go to one of the category pages, I can then browse the various subcategories. And as far as the search goes, I mean, one filter with the filters is, you know, you're going to sit down the bottom, so they're not real flash on mobile. I'm still kind of working out what to do about that, whether to try and do something up here on the top, have a different module load. yeah, that's a little bit of an issue. But the actual results themselves load fine.
Yeah, it looks all right for content that's that has so much volume. That's pretty not bad.
Yeah, it's kind of worked all right in that regard. But yeah, I kind of still trying to work out a good solution to the filters on mobile. I'm not sure there is one. Because if you have it at the top, then it'll be, too long. Like if you start opening it, then where's your content?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking maybe just hiding it and, I mean, it's not a site that's going to be used by people on mobile heaps. It's going to be
That's right.
academics sitting at their desktop at work, doing research. So, yeah. Cool. Yeah. There's not much else to the site really. It's just the library. It's kind of fun to build though.
Sounds like a good customer.
They're not bad actually. Mental Health Australia. Yeah. They've got a bit on at the moment. So, all right. I'll stop the share. Let's see if anybody has anything else.
So just one other question, Nathan. Are they cascading? Can you make them cascade, or is it basically just apply a filter and a filter and a filter? So if you've got like a set of 3 fields which make up a series, like column A, if you filter out of column A, does it only give you then the column B's in your filter? I didn't quite.
You understand that? So, like, if you started selecting from the parents, does it filter down the children, or might you actually have a mismatch between the children and the parents when you're filtering?
No, it filters down on category, certainly, like children to parent and stuff. But you mean like values for a custom field that are conditional?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how it goes with conditional fields. I've got to be honest. I've not tried. I don't know how that works really. So you can do conditional fields and custom fields. Yep.
Yeah. No, that's right.
So you mean like selecting one and then it filters based on that, and then
pre-populate. Yeah.
and so then give you the next lot of options. Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, Stuart. It wasn't something I needed to do, but it'd be worth.
Having a look.
Yeah, it might do though. Like I said, it's got a lot of use cases. A lot of them are also around creating sort of predefined search results, if you like, that you can just create as a link to a button.
Mhm.
So if you want to display all of the products from a particular category, you can just do it by creating a predefined URL, attaching that to a button. So it's not actually a menu link as such. There's a lot of that kind of use for it. But yeah, I'm not sure about conditional fields. Sorry.
And the synchronization basically is only to pick up any additional custom fields. It doesn't actually soak the values of the custom fields. It's just the custom field.
That's correct.
List.
Yeah.
Nathan, can I ask how, because I know I'm having a look at the way the filtering works, and if you select, so for instance, you've got discussions and analysis, you've got 31 articles in that section.
Yep.
How have you got that to link with the tags? Because that's where I'm at a loss at the moment.
How have I got it to link with the tags?
So when it's still like if I select a tag for mine that I've built, it forgets that it's coming from a category. It's just grabbing whatever from that category. So I have 3 categories that articles are in, and all those categories will have the same tags associated that would be used, but certain articles only have 1 tag or 2 tags assigned to them. So when you click on, for instance, that one that you've got 4, so you've clicked a particular category first.
I wasn't then, I went straight to the tag first.
So if you went to, for instance, if you selected that top discussions and analysis category,
Mhm.
and then down to the tags, and you select one of your training, then it'll only like those 3 tag articles assigned to that category with those tags.
That's correct. That's
I'm
kind
trying to work out, I'm struggling to understand how that link works.
how that link works. Well, it's basically filtering down. So you've said discussion analysis first, so then it's chaining that tag with it. So it's only going to display anything in that category that's been tagged with training.
Yeah, correct. But I'm just trying to understand how that would have been set up in the back end. For that actually happened. Because I can't get that. I can't get it to work.
Like in terms of the Jfilters setup.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think I did anything in particular around tags.
Then I've just broken it.
The only way I work around tags not using this tool is I create hidden menus with tags, but it's pretty tedious to manage and set up in the beginning. Depends on how many tags there are, right?
That doesn't sound like
there's an automated method, then it would be interesting to know.
I think maybe it might be to do with the category setup, Matthew, maybe.
Because I've only got 6 tags that we're associating with one section of where I'm using it. So to case of I've got 3 categories. I want to choose one category, and then I say, okay, I want to select.
Yeah.
I want all the articles to load that have a particular tag assigned to them. And there might be 10 articles, but only 3 have one of those, the tag I'm interested in. So I'm not getting that because I'll click on a tag and it forgets that it's come from that I'm in one. I want to be in one category.
Yeah, I think it's to do with this field where it's got root or the root filter. So I've got my category set as the root filter, which I think they kind of recommend. I think you can do it on others, but you see it says a root filter can be considered as the start of the filtering browsing experience.
Yeah,
Sorry, I can't see that.
on that screen.
Yeah.
We're seeing the search library screen.
Oh, sorry. My bad. Sorry. I don't know why it didn't switch properly. Is that better?
Yeah.
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 So there's this root. So in Jfilter, so in my category field, a root filter can be considered as the start of the filtering browsing experience. So that's why when I'm filtering by tag, it's then using the root filter, the category is the starting point.
Yeah.
So it's not affected by the selections in the other filters and clears any selection in the other filters when it changes.
Yeah.
So it's kind of the root. So I'd have a look at yours and see what you've got set as the root filter for that particular.
Yeah, I have that same setup.
Okay. Yeah, that's about the only thing I can think of because I don't have anything special under tags. I don't remember doing anything. Yeah. Happy to have a quick look at it at some point if you like, Matthew.
Yeah, I might get you to do that, Nathan, because it's
might be able to see something I can't see right at the moment.
No, because it's interesting. I'm using Jfilter for 2 sections of the website to do 2 different things as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yep, and you should be able to do that. I think have you got more than one module?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can set up. Yeah, I didn't sort of show it before, but you can have certainly more than one filter module, and they have their own settings as well. Does it have anything about? I don't think it has anything about it being the root though. But yeah, happy to have a look at some point. But yeah, this was the thing I had to turn off because weirdly, what was happening, I will demonstrate just because it was driving me mad. Yeah,
Did
the search library. I've got my field nicely, search thing nicely formatted here. If I straight away click on one of the category links, I get this thing happening. And the auto suggest doesn't work anymore.
Right.
And I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, as soon as I go in and turn Ajax off, it works as expected. Very annoying.
Hmm.
This could be even faster, so I'm hoping he fixes that at some point. But yeah, I think that's kind of meant to be the whole idea, Matthew, is that it does that, filters down from whatever you've got set as the root. I mean, I guess it looks like you probably can specify. I feel like in the instructions it says you've got to set a category, doesn't it?
No,
No, you can set other fields as the root. But, yeah, I'm not sure what happens when you do.
I'm sure it's something very simple that I just can't see. So,
You haven't
there's a paid version for this, isn't there? Am I right?
Yes, I'm on the paid version. Yeah.
So that may be my issue, but I wouldn't have thought.
No, that seems weird. It's kind of like the core function of the component.
Yeah. Is there an ability on the landing page that you go to from the main menu that it would load or populate a whole heap of the latest articles that you've got?
Yeah, I couldn't work out how to do that either. No, it's primarily, well, you can in the sense that if you had the module loaded on a link to the page of your latest articles, then the module would work and filter those articles.
Yeah.
But I haven't found a way of, having it just display sort of, articles from all of the content I've got.
No, because what I've done the category blog scenario load and then have the module load to the side.
Yeah.
So it's just loading the latest articles at that point. And I also, because there's no way to go back, I created another button above the module to just go back to that page all the time. So
yeah, it's not a perfect solution. I would certainly say that. I had about four support tickets going on.
Yeah.
I'm not a particular fan of the use of Bootstrap for this kind of, like the fact that you have to click on the button here to launch this drop down. Like there's a native JavaScript thing called selective eyes where it would just have the search field at the top here and you'd click straight in the search field and it would drop down.
Yeah.
To me, that would be a bit schmicker. But he's kind of using Bootstrap, so you've got to click on the button to activate the drop down. So yeah, it's got some room for improvement, but it's still pretty good.
It's pretty new, isn't it, really?
Yeah. It's only for J4, so it's only been around a year and a half, I think, something like that. So yeah, there's also a U-theme integration for it, which works great, except that the default search U-theme doesn't. In that if you can create a Jfilters results page layout with U-theme, and you can add custom fields, and that's all really cool. But you can't do that on the search results U-theme builder. Basically, you can't access custom fields, which I think is because by default you can't access them in Joomla search. So,
okay.
Yeah, but that'll improve too, I would think, at some point. I've been following closely the fact that custom fields aren't actually bloody indexed by Smart Search, which has been, I was like, oh, when I did this site, I can't build it. And then I only discovered that. And I was like, you're shitting me, eh? Because ideally, I'd still like the value of my custom fields to be searchable through the search field here. but that's currently a pull request or a PR for 4.3. I didn't make it in, did it, Patrick? He's got quite.
There's a couple of things that are on the edge at the moment.
Yes, well, I think it's one of the ones on the edge. So I would assume that once that's resolved, then custom fields would then be natively accessible through the smart search component, and that UTheme would be able to access them as well. Wouldn't have made it any bit easier in my case anyway, because of the painful layout of these resource references. So a bit hard to do in UIKit, really. It's not exactly a column layout. Yes. Yeah, it's got some things that still need some work, but you know, I was still pretty impressed both with its speed and performance, and yeah, and just the options around, you know, the search. I think they're pretty good. Just needs a little bit of polish, I think. I haven't got much more to add to it at this stage.
That's pretty good, Nathan. That's given me a few ideas on a particular project I'm working on now. So might have a look at that tomorrow.
Thanks very much, Nathan. It was good.
And if anybody would like a copy of the template override or anything, then yell out. I can happily supply.
If we're not pressed for time, can we just have a look at that template override, the code that you were showing earlier? I just noticed a couple of things that I can suggest to make it a little bit more modern, or because
Yeah, I'm a bit of a PHP hack mix, so yeah.
But and that's okay, but because there are many people that are that shape as well.
that was my main concern. I was like, it's going to be someone who goes, "Oh, that code's shit, mate."
Well, I just think this page is perfect. So it just represents an opportunity to stop there. You're in just the perfect spot. So
Yeah.
The if, else if branching that you have that are all checking the resource type variable.
As an
That
array.
that entire block of code can and should be replaced with a relatively new modern function called match. So match would tidy that up straight away, and you wouldn't have to repeat the variable name over and over and over, because match will return the value that the condition satisfies, and then you have a default return, which will be the empty string. So it's worth a look up on the PHP manual to see.
Yeah, thank you. I will have a look at that.
So that's a good one. And if you fix it before you share it with 100 people.
Yeah, sure.
Because then they'll have the best. You had another, I think it was your view somewhere. What was your other? Did you have a template that eats this? Where? Yes, this is the one. So on line 27, you have the if condition that checks if it's a truthy or falsy value, and you
Yeah.
page heading.
Hold the farm there, Mick. The developer of Jfilters has that code there, mate, not me. So.
Okay, well, maybe they're listening.
Well, he actually wants to do a case study of the site I'm building, so I was going to share with him that we've done this. So yeah, he may be listening. Yeah.
Okay.
So say it again then. Sorry.
The only thing I was going to say was that it doesn't make sense to escape something if you're just checking if it has any length. So in the condition, it would make sense to remove this escape, because you're not actually using the value, you're just checking if there's a value in there.
Yeah.
Escaping it when you echo, that makes sense, but escaping it when you're checking if there's something in it is not necessary.
I'm not sure I'm quite brave enough to suggest that to say.
All right.
Be bold, Nathan, be bold.
Hey, you'll have heard it, hopefully. So
Otherwise, I have to say that it's very tidy, and it's very simple and clean, and the code is good. I quite like the look of it.
cool. Thank you. So yeah, I didn't know about match. That's good, because yeah, multiple if else's shit me to tears. And I've never really liked arrays much, but I'll get my head around that one now. I will update that tomorrow, and then if anybody does want it, they can yell out.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing.
No worries.
What do we have next?
What do we have next? We have you.
Am I next?
Yeah, next.
All right. Do I just go? I don't want to be leaning over you, I won't be that long
You can,
now,
you can.
right? I never talk to Sarah this long.
We can hear you. We can't hear you.
I hear nothing. Uh-huh.